Hello and welcome to another video here on Karina's Creatures. Today we're going to be delving into the weird and wonderful world of Amblypygid, otherwise known as Tailless Whipscorpions or Whipspiders. But these are both kind of weird names for this order of arachnids because they're neither scorpions nor spiders. They are their own group, but because they are arachnids, they do share that classification with scorpions and spiders and harvestmen and mites and Vinegaroons. Now, as a quick side note, and for some more clarification here, because you might hear these other terms, Vinegaroons are also called Whipscorpions, which are distinct from Tailless Whipscorpions. Whipscorpions, aka Vinegaroons, possess a flagellum from which they can spray hot acetic acid out of when they feel threatened. But acetic acid is just vinegar, so hence that common name. Now, unfortunately, our tailless Whipscorpions cannot perform this cool party trick. But it is because of this confusingly similar nomenclature that I prefer to use the common name Whipspider, and it's just less of a mouthful to say repeatedly. So now that we've got the basics covered, let's have a look at one of these wonderfully interesting creatures having a meal. This is my Whipspider. I call her Little Sweetie, and she has just wrangled a small cricket with her beautifully spiny pedipalps and is now destroying its twitching corpse with her long chelicerae. It is perhaps difficult to see, but Whipspiders have 8 eyes, excluding some species which have some reduced or gone completely, but this particular species has a standard set of 8. 2 median eyes in the center, and 2 clusters of 3 on the sides, so they literally have eyes on the back of their head and pointing in almost every direction. The visual capacity of these eyes is not like our own, which is probably a good thing because having that many visual fields would be a lot to process. But it is thought that they can distinguish between light and dark and possibly also sense the movement of large objects. You might be wondering, what is the whip in Whipspider? And that name alludes to their 2 very long and very thin appendages that are placed directly posterior to the pedipalps. These whips are actually modified forelimbs that have evolved to serve a sensory function, and so they're referred to as antenniform legs, referencing antennae, which are the sensory structures other arthropods like insects have. These whips are loaded with 10 and maybe even 11 different types of sensory organs to detect movement, texture, shape, humidity, smell, and air movement. The whips contain extremely long neurons which connect directly to the brain so that the signals are almost immediately received by the Whipspider. This means that they can react much quicker to stimuli than would otherwise be possible. The name whip may imply fast movements, but the Whipspider actually typically moves its whips very slowly and deliberately, often reaching around objects and far around themselves to detect prey and other noteworthy things that may be in their surroundings, like mates and other conspecifics. But if they are suddenly disturbed or startled, they can retract their whips very quickly so that they're in a much less vulnerable position. But in general, they actually move the whips very slowly. As we have now come to the end of this short little video, I'd like to thank you for watching, and as usual, always feel free to ask a question or comment down below because I love to read them and interact with others who are interested in this subject matter. Bye!